Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. As usual, hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Because Doris doesn't like it, at any time during this Jet Black Airways flight, you may press the Cash App button. I ask that you only enter in amounts that are small to you. Because I'd rather a bunch of people send small amounts than for any one person to hurt themselves sending in a lot. Now, there is no amount too big for me as long as it is still small for you. That being said, let me go ahead and give shouts out again to the recent donors. I would like to thank Passport OG for coming through again today. Earlier today, my time, and his too. A. Dean, M. Johnston, Sheikh Imam Maulana Campbell, Assalamu alaikum to you, brother, and Jazakallah khair from the bottom of my black heart, from the depths of my black mind. Senor Coleman, Harden, Invisible Man, A. Mayo, Matthew, BGS Ibmore, Red Falls Black, Blendigo, Brandon, J. Cleveland, DK Milton, and MLR for consistency by itself. That being said, I thank all of you from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind. Now that we got that out the way, Kendra D actually pointed out one of the main staples of them pushing us away. The reason that Tierra Allen may be behind bars, she pointed out, but rather not Tierra Allen is behind bars for this. We have to assume, sorry for yawning, we have to assume that she is behind bars for this. Because as Crimson Cure, Kendra Davis pointed out, it's one thing that it's hard to notice, but it makes all the difference. And she pointed out a scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin where Kevin Hart's character walks into a store called Smart Tech, and he gets help from a character played by Romani Malco. And Romani Malco says, let's move forward. I'm not anybody's nigga, but let's move forward amicably. And Kevin Hart goes immediately to see you throwing all these big words at me, and I know what they mean, so I'm going to take it as disrespect. That's some sugarnit. And that is true. When you were dealing with the hyena, with the Western Isha, the Wicked Witch of the West, they don't understand a lot. Their comprehension goes down. One is their listening skills deteriorate when slightly emotionally agitated. And number two, their vocabulary comprehension is already, though they may understand it, if they normally understand words, they stop when they're agitated. So one, they're already poor listeners, and then they forget a lot of the vocabulary that they know if they knew it to begin with. Different ladies know different words, but that goes out the window. And I have seen this happen at times. I have seen this happen in general with Western and non-Western black women, but I have seen it the most with Western black women, even when they're educated. When they're in a debate with a man, their comprehension goes out the window. They hear half of what you say, and if you give it to them in writing, they'll read half of it and start forming conclusions. You can't communicate with them, so you can't educate them. You cannot inform them. So when you start trying to tell sisters about anything they don't want to hear about and they did not know about this ahead of time, you just can't. That part is truth. And Tierra Allen, if she was dumb enough and belligerent enough, and I'm using that word intentionally, belligerent enough to record herself in immodest and over-sexualized fashion publicly and then upload it to the public, she already has a low comprehension. Intentional or accidental, it doesn't matter. Because see, when sisters get out there and start showing everything to the world publicly, that's not just a low IQ, that is belligerence. And belligerence will lower your IQ. And let's be honest, this whole thing of you can't tell me nothing, that's something that a lot of brothers have decided to throw out. but sisters haven't. That's something that, as more and more black men are becoming better fathers and willing to even allow their kids a voice and then still making final decisions, which is a very balanced way to parent children, sisters are like, nope, you don't even have a voice. And I have understood this to a certain extent for years now. I used to notice that as I got older, it was more difficult to get respect from sisters, especially attractive sisters, and it was easier to get and maintain respect amongst black men in general. I began to notice that, but to be honest with you, I was told that it was something wrong with me. Like, man, you don't. One guy said to me, do you get along well with any girls? And I was like, yeah, silent ones. I didn't mean the ones that don't talk. I just meant the ones that didn't scream and yell. Now, I noticed this 30 years ago. And I began to notice it even more about 27 years ago. And since then, it remained that way. And that was largely because I could communicate with brothers. I could not communicate with sisters. They couldn't hear very well. They couldn't. And usually if I couldn't get along with a brother, it was because of communication. Like, they wouldn't hear even what I meant. They would have to assume that I meant something I didn't mean. And that's what bothered me for the longest. It was like, okay, I can't communicate. But if they're unattractive and no other men want them, and I don't want them either, then they seem to understand because they're actually paying attention. So that's what the effort takes. And like most of you brothers, I was gaslit into thinking that it was me. Now I knew that I wasn't going to be corny. I wasn't willing to be. I was, the way I was raised, you just couldn't be. So it meant that I was doing something accidentally, lack of knowledge, some sort of deep subconscious psychological thing I was doing out of ignorance, but they didn't know how to explain what the hell it was. Come to find out, no, they're just hyper scrutinous and hypercritical and hyper judgmental. And they were this way with a few black men as I was growing up, and they've now broadened it to most normal black men. And this is the same lady that has gone over to Dubai. I'm going to tell you about the way that Arabs communicate, because in all honesty, I knew this was a disaster. Some of you might remember me saying a long time ago that the Western sister and the Bedouin man need each other. You should put them together. Take the most closed-minded, backwards Bedouin, especially one that's ignorant in his religion, but he thinks he knows it, that kind, and put sisters with them. They deserve each other. I said this years ago. I don't think that she got a Bedouin Arab. I doubt that. They don't get to have good jobs in Dubai and keep them unless they're some of the few Bedouin Emiratis. And in the Emirates, they don't live like Bedouins anymore. That's over. Now in Saudi, you have some that almost live like Bedouins. They got houses, but they go camp on the weekends. They think it's a vacation to go camp in the desert. I'm not joking. Like, really? You think that's a vacation? Okay, that's fine. Then it's your vacation. They used to ask me to do stuff like that. I'd be like, that's not a vacation. I would not be ready to go back to work and start work after a vacation like that. That's not a weekend. Oh, but camp in the desert. Come on. No, for one, my sinuses will react to all that sand. I'm not doing that. Number two, it's not a damn vacation anyway. Fuck a tent. You have fun, sir. Like, I'm not a Bedouin at all. And I don't respect their ethos when it comes to work and education. They're not hard workers, and they don't study that well until they leave Bedouia. But I noticed that Arabs in general and Indians effing suck as communicators. They're just not that good and effective at it. One good thing about Arabs is that if an Arab doesn't speak English, he'll tell you, I don't understand. He might even be proud of that. An Indian. English, no problem. Arabic, no problem. bobble his head. You start talking to him in Arabic, he answers you in broken Arabic, because that's all he knows. And granted, that's all the locals will teach them, but he answers you in broken Arabic like that's normal Arabic because he doesn't know it's broken. And I kind of don't blame him, but when it comes to English, they'll just lie. Tell you they speak English and they don't. That's how they get a lot of jobs, until an English speaker walks in and doesn't speak Arabic and they don't speak English, and then the English speaker talks to their boss. I've gotten a few of them fired, I think. And I'm glad I did. I don't care what happened to them afterwards. Not because they didn't speak English, but because they lied about it. My first half year in Saudi Arabia, I was living in this small city. Had an airport, but not much of anything else. And I was walking up the street. This guy called me from across the street. Black. Looked over. I'd seen him before. He was at this restaurant. And he said, yeah, man, I want you to talk to the chef. He brought 5 employees out, and 4 of them did not understand a goddamn thing. I didn't speak too quickly. It wasn't my damn accent. I'm an English teacher. I know how to not overwhelm people with a regional accent. It's not fair. I would say to them, can I ask you which city you're from? India? Motherfucker, I didn't say country, I said city. But your dumb ass. Did you tell him you speak English? Because that's why he would call them out, because he would say to me, he said he speaks English. I want to find out if they really do or not. So he called one out, and they were just dropping like flies, and he would get angry and say, get out my damn face and tell so-and-so to come. And then somebody else would come. They were all from India and Nepal. Bobbling their head. Started with that nervous grin. Answering shit I never said. Stuff I never asked him. I have to turn him like he doesn't speak it. He doesn't even understand my question. I never saw those employees at that same restaurant again, and I don't care, because they lied. This is not an easy country in which to live in many cases, and they make it easier for certain professions. I happen to be one of them, but you will still go through major undue complications due to just communication. And when I started to learn the language, I realized Arabs were not effective communicators with each other. You know why? They're effing lazy. Sometimes they just say a noun twice, and that's supposed to suffice for a sentence. Now imagine doing that to somebody that doesn't even have the same culture as you. And then other people start picking this up. And you're like, so you think because you said the noun car twice, I'm supposed to know what the F you talking about? What about the car, dummy? And I've gotten aggressive with some of them, raised my voice. Usually when they're Indian and they do it, I'm like, what? What about it, huh? They think I'm from New York. They stop. Kalas, mafi mushkila. That means no problem. They bobble their head. All right, bye. That's what you're dealing with. Now you add the ratchet Westernisha to that, who got an ego bigger than her head, bigger than all of it put together, and her friend and her obese friends all put together. Her ego can't get through the door because she a sister. And like Crimson Cure said, she thinks that nasty upped up attitude is right and that she's supposed to have it because she's a black woman. She already thinks that her 4C hair from wide nose and big lips and dark skin mean that she's supposed to have a nasty attitude, like it's in the blood. She believes that. You and I don't think that way. She thinks that African DNA and the phenotype means that it's in her blood to just be a basti niche. So you put one of them in front of someone who, whether Indian or Arab, doesn't communicate very effectively and detailedly. Oh, I'm not saying that the guy started yelling right off the bat, and I don't know if they did or not. It's very unlikely that who she was dealing with was an Arab anyway. More than likely it was an Indian. Maybe an Egyptian. They don't like black people in general, especially now. Maybe she was dealing with, chances are she was not dealing with a Gulf Arab. She might have been dealing with a Jordanian. She might have been dealing with a Palestinian, a Lebanese. I don't really know. She may have been dealing with an Iranian. There's some people from Iran that managed to get jobs in the UAE. I don't know the nationality or first language or cultural background or even religious beliefs of the man with whom she was speaking. What I do know is that there's about a 50-50 chance of them being a piss poor communicator in their own language. In Arabic. And about a fourth of that, about a half of that, which is about a fourth of 100%, maybe about a 25% chance of them being piss poor communicators in English. There are a lot of people in specifically Dubai, there are many people who speak English and don't know Arabic. They're not Emiratis, but they're just a lot of people that know one and not the other. Fairly, they're there. I've met Arab kids who still had to learn Arabic, but they were already learning English. I remember taking my wife's niece, by extension my niece, to the playground. She's bilingual already. She's learning English and Arabic, and she's actually beginning to learn Somali too from her mom. So she'll be trilingual, inshallah. Like my my wife. And I'm going to tell you, she's already learned to lie on people as a small kid. It's a joke to her. But she's learned to do it. Fortunately, though her dad is not harsh with her, her dad does not take her word for this stuff. Her mother is already starting to pop that ass. Her mother's already learned how to bust her. She one time just took tissue, threw him on the floor, ran, grabbed mom, and then said, "Look what he did," and pointed not at me, but the other boy, older than her, that was visiting us at the time, because his mother is my wife's friend. When got her mom, pointed at him, said, "Look what he did." And I looked at her like, what the hell? I was sitting right here. She knows I saw this, but she didn't know I would understand what she said to her mother. And her mom asked the boy, "Did he do this?" And he said, no, I was in the room, but I was over there. And he pointed at me, was about to say, "Ask me." And before she could ask me, I looked at her and shook my head. And I said, it was not him. It wasn't him. I was sitting right here. Matter of fact, I can't even believe she walked up to you and said, "Look what he did." I can't believe she did that, because she knew I was sitting here on the couch looking at her. And she said she must not have known and you would understand. I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. And she said, okay, hold on. So she grabbed the tablet that belonged to her daughter and said, "Let me see the camera on the tablet," because it was recording. And her daughter immediately said, "I'm sorry, Mama, I'm sorry," and ran up and hugged her. And I was like, see, this is going to be a problem. She also has a hard time saying she's sorry. And she said it to her mother, but when she got out of pocket outside the house and her parents went around, she wasn't ready for me. I made her say sorry. She knew how to say it in English. That wasn't the problem. I just made her say it to some employees at a Starbucks. It's like, you're not going to sit up here and you're not going to act a damn fool like this. You took one bite out of a banana we gave you and said, "I don't want this one," and try to grab another one out that store. Didn't even ask us. No. And then you scream, you're going to tell them sorry. Now, that's what happens just naturally. She's not African American. She ain't ratchet per se. She's just a kid. But she's learning some of this stuff from others. Now, I want you to factor in the ratchet culture that they're trying to export, and you understand why Passport OG and I are talking about this, and this is a major thing. We have to have a discussion about the exportation of it, because they're stepping up. They're ratcheting up the exportation of their ratchetry. There's a pun for you, a double entendre, for the specific purpose of stopping you from having any better options. They're not doing this for any reason other than that. They want you to not have any better options. That's it. They are not doing this because they just don't want to lose to these other women. It's not that. No, they want you to go through the process of being passport bros by getting the passport and getting the certifications and getting the degrees, because they know that it is a relatively quick process to change a culture for the negative, for the worse. They know that. You might need 4 years to learn the code well enough to get a job. You might need 2 years to learn cybersecurity well enough to get a job. They can make major changes in that time, especially 4 years. They know this. So by the time the rest of us brothers catch up and actually equip ourselves to bring skills to these other nations for which we could stay there and live, guess what's going to happen? They will sit up and work on something that is much easier to do and accomplish. Turning the women of those destinations into exactly the ones from whom we fled. So that just like a job market that turned bad recently and graduates don't know that, you will go through the process, finally reach your goal, only to find that the goal is not there, and that the prize is not there, and the compensation is not there, only for that purpose. So we do have to discuss this, because I stated years ago they're going to do this. Some of it was already being done haphazardly through media. But some of it is now being done more intentionally, more personally, and in a more personable manner. See, Tierra Allen got loud. You really want to know a bigger threat than her and others like her? It's going to be the sister that's low-key and nice with it and loving, but empowers the women. Not empowers them to reach their career goals in life, but empowers them to just not need no man. That's all. That's what it is. That's what they're doing. That's who they are and how they are, and they're not even failing at this. You got women in Bangkok that are coloring their hair multiple colors and taking on attitudes. Right now, it can go either way in certain locations. You can find them traditional or not only feminist, but feminist, misandrist, and ratchet as hell. You can find them in different ways. They want to tip the scales, though. Tanzania is a problem. Tanzania is already going to crack down soon on Black Americans, mark my words, because of the women ruining the Tanzanian women. This ain't no joke. I wish this was a joke and they were playing. It is not. They are serious about this. They want to turn the local women into non-communicators. And it's going to work if we don't do what it takes to stop it. And what it takes to stop it is to let the men of the country know how to let them know what's coming, so that they can put a stop to the spread to their sisters and their daughters. And even to cut off their aunts if their aunts are on that mess. Oh, auntie, you on that mess? I don't care if you my mama's sister or my brother's sister. I ain't looking after you till you come off it. You're going to get old. What you gonna do? Ask my sister to go and work and financially support you? No, you ain't going to do that. You're going to ask me to do it, and I'm not willing to if you want that feminist stuff. So how about you close your damn mouth? The next time I tell you to do something for your own good, you do it. Let them know. Tell them what to look for. How to recognize it. Tell them or advise them to tell their sisters, daughters, nieces, maybe even their aunts and their mothers. Do not have a social media account that you don't tell us about. We find out you got one that we did not know about before, we will take your phone and give you a dumb phone. And that will be the only way you can reach anybody. I hope that what I've said helps. I want to thank Passport OG for helping me to spread the message about the culture creeping, the Keisha culture being exported. I mean it. It really means a lot that you're helping me to put that message out there, because I can already see some of the effects of Becky and Karen and Amber's culture going abroad. Some of it's already plainly visible to see. It's right there. I can see it. Some of my students are taking off their hijabs. Some of them have multiple colors to their hair underneath the hijabs. They're not mean, they're not belligerent, they're not angry and feisty with men. It's not that. But that stubbornness that some of them have, which is similar to what the men have, but that stubbornness that some of them have, well, it's a means by which the men turn around and become even more stubborn. And I will say this too, and this is something that we have to know, and I think we're learning this as Passport Bros and SYSBM, but this is something we also have to tell our new in-laws and our buddies and our brethren that are from these destinations to which we like to go. We need to let them know, listen, it is very important that you do not accept any excuses that these ladies have for the shift in their attitudes. Even if they say what is correct and you realize you need to make a particular change, you still don't accept that as a justification for them taking on a nasty attitude. Don't accept it. That's important. They change or they stay by themselves and take care of themselves too. They can't turn anybody. It's got to be that way. I say that because I know as a teacher, especially teaching Arabs, and before that, teaching Negroes and poor Latin Americans, I learned one thing early on. If you're willing to accept excuses, you'll always get excuses and never get performance. I don't mean anything outside of reason, but I mean in general. If you will take excuses, then that's all they're going to give you. One of my rules for the betterment of my students is do not come in my classroom during the English lesson speaking Arabic in a full sentence. I don't give a F word why you do it either. F your excuses. Don't give me an excuse. I'm going to tell you not to use Arabic during my English class. I'm not going to listen to whatever excuses you give me when you use Arabic during my English class. I'm going to refuse to listen to the excuses. You can use an individual Arabic word to ask in English what its translation is. That is okay. And you must use that English translation someone gives you to finish your sentence. But you are not allowed to just turn to someone and say in a full sentence, Shlonagul kalam Inglesi. That means, how do I say pen in English? You're not allowed to. You do that, I don't give a rat's ass what your excuse is. First time you do it, I'll mark you late for attendance. Second time you do it, I'll mark you absent. You argue, I'll mark you absent again. Give me an excuse, I'll mark you absent again. I don't give a rat's ass why you did it. I told you not to. And I have to be a jerk about it. Some of them have even said, well, you're being racist against Arab. You're motherfucking right, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. Even though that's not what I'm doing. Like, you goddamn right I am. And take your ass upstairs and complain about it if you really believe that. Like I'm going to come over here, all the way here, to be racist against Arabs. Now, there are some that deserve it, but I ain't met them. One person said that to me, and I said, if that was the case, if I wanted to be racist against Arabs, I'd start with the ones who deserve it. They live in these Bedouin towns, not here in Riyadh. No, but I am biased against laziness, absolutely. You calling me lazy for speaking my own language? Yes, I am. In an English class, absolutely you are. What's the reason you said it in Arabic instead of English? Because I can say it directly without thinking. Exactly. You're too lazy to think. Stereotypical Bedouin. And you're from Riyadh. You ain't even from the countryside. You just lazy as hell. Now say something else about it, I'll mark you absent 2 more days. What I got to tell them is, F your excuses. I don't care what they are. Nigga, you late. Say something else. Now you're absent. Argue again? Let's make it a whole week. You just wasted all of last week even coming to class. Run upstairs and tell the administration what I did. I'll do it again. How they going to replace somebody that they're giving 2 extra hours with no extra money? Those are the consequences. You want to come into my English class, that is fine. You can either fuck the shuck up, not say nothing, or you can say it in English. If you make a mistake, I'll help you. I got to be this way and not accept the excuses, because if I accept the excuses, the class will degenerate into conversations in Arabic with a bunch of excuses. I'm getting sick of this mess. For the sake of good students who tried. What you got to do is the same thing when you're talking to some of these men. We don't have to tell them how to run the house. We just got to tell them what to look for and let them know they're going to bring excuses too. When you men shuck up, do it without us if that's the case. I'm not taking your excuses. You come with that feminism, you're taking care of yourself under your own roof. You're going to pay all your own goddamn bills under your own roof. You can't do nothing but come visit me, and you're welcome to do that, but that's all you can do. You cannot live under my roof and eat my food and spend my money if you are a feminist. Now drop the feminism or get your ass out there and get a job. And you got 2 days to find your own place. That's the end of it. That's what you got to do. That's what we got to tell them. Because a lot of times the local men know that feminism's wrong. They know that the overt ratchetry that they see on TV is wrong and unacceptable. They know that. But what they don't know is that some of the women that are over there actually, we don't know how many there are, but some of the Western broads that are living there and working there, or living there without even working, staying there 3 months at a time, some of those broads are there, not even acting all belligerent with it. They are diplomatically befriending the women and slipping the feminism there under the radar from one person to another. That's what they got to watch out for, the sneaky stuff. Because the media is being used to make them think that what they need to look for is just a sister twerking. No. That's not it. No. They need to look for signs that the women in their family actually think that the West is something to follow. That's what they need to look for. It might even mean that the men have to watch what kind of media they themselves consume. I hope that what I've said benefits, and thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for pressing the share button, most of all, or repeating this message to others. That's what Passport OG has done. Not even repeating, but he said it independently of me, and we happen to hear each other. But I thank you for doing that, because this is important to protect a reason to go Passport Bro at SYSBM. It's important to protect the destinations to which some of our younger brothers and sons and nephews are going to go, and friends, and to which aspiring Passport Bros and SYSBM men are going to go, and are in the process of working to be able to go. It's important. This is the other half of that. It's like anything else that you buy that's expensive and great and grand. I mean, you buy this expensive, really high-performing sports car. If you don't have a safe and secure place to put it, you don't buy the sports car. And this is the same thing. These destinations are valuable, but we got to protect them from being changed from the outside in. Thank you for listening as I tried to explain it. And I hope that this benefits you in real life today and going forward into the future. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it, black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you again for flying with me on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jet black with me till the wings and the wheels fall off. For those who have not done so already, don't forget to punch the Cash App button on your way out of the Jet Black aircraft as you exit. Amounts that are small to you only, please, and gender justice forever.